CMJ's Epic Quest. 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 CMJ's Epic Quest.
Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. My name is Justin, also known as J Rule, and alongside me here is
Derek Cronus, or my regular name is Derek. Not as cool as J Rule.
You know, I just thought of it as we were talking right before I hit the record button, and I'm like, that's funny. I could do that.
It's too bad you weren't recording because I feel like I had a pretty genuine and good reaction to it. I wish you would have got that recorded, but
actually, no, I hit it. No, I got it.
Did you?
Yeah. Okay. No, because I said it after I hit record. Yeah.
Well, if it's there, maybe you should throw it in at the end of the episode as like an outtake or something.
Yeah. Our patrons will see it because it'll all be uncut and edited. So, just more of a reason for y'all to hit up our Patreon. I'm just saying. We got some pretty funny shit.
We do. I think we're fun. I think we both need a little bit of fun today. I know your family's had kind of a tough day, and it's been a busy week for me. I got done with work and then had to drop a microwave off to my wife's stepmom, who's now in assisted living, and now we've just been slowly chipping away at cleaning out my wife's dad's house, and we got about an hour in today, and it's going to be kind of one of those situations. We just got to keep chipping away, but it's going to take a long time.
Well, sure. Yeah, I mean, she's probably running into things that she hasn't thought about in a long time, and of course they're going to remind her of him. And
honestly, I don't think it's so much that. It's just like, because her dad's house, it's basically her stepmom's, all her stuff now. And it's like, it's not quite to the point where it would need to be on an episode of Hoarders, but it's not super far off either.
Dang.
And so we're just, and so now my wife's cousin is living in the house because he had some housing issues. And so it's working out that way. But yeah, there's just so much stuff. And so it's just honestly, I would just throw away 99% of it. And that's what's going to end up happening. But it's a process. So it's a lot. It's not the most fun thing in the world.
Oh, no, never. Well, I'm sorry y'all are going through that. That's difficult. Sounds hard.
It is what it is. I mean, the hardest part's over now. It's just making the time to do the rest. So.
Oh, fair. Yeah. And, in our busy lives, I can imagine it's one of those things. It's just like, I got to go do this tonight because we just got to get it done. But I'm just so exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, before we get started, I just want to shout out Medieval for creating our very own and very unique theme song, I guess you could call it, our podcast music, so to speak. My girlfriend sent that to me, and I listened to it, and I'm like, this is fucking dope. Just sent it to Derek. More or less thought the same thing, which is absolutely great just to know that, we have something that is unique to us. No one else has it, and it's a fucking beat, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it a lot. Yeah, and like you said, it's exciting to have that.
Yeah. Well, she said that he listened to a few of our episodes. Not sure which ones they were, so hopefully it wasn't our earlier stuff because those can be just shoved underneath the rock and forgotten about. He said that the vibe that he got was just that it was chill, it was entertaining, and it was funny. So he wanted to create something along those lines, and that's what he got. So I hope y'all enjoy it. If you aren't following us as far as like Curse of the Fallen in that book, which was released today, it does have that intro on there. So this will be the first time you'll hear it. Actually, no, you'll hear it on chapter 1. So ignore that because I haven't edited chapter 1 yet. So yes, by the time you get to this, you'll have heard it. But this is the episode where it was given to us and now we're talking about it, etc.
I feel like I had something to say there, but I don't really know what I wanted to say. So yeah,
That's fair.
sorry.
That's fair. Other than that, today's episode, we'd also like to take a moment to thank and recognize Silverstone's Books. Please check out their website at silverstonesbooks.com. They have a very large selection of fantasy, sci-fi, and horror books with the option of many signed copies at reasonable prices. The store carries a large number of indie authors, so please help us help them in supporting self-published authors. Also, they've been gracious enough to give us a promo code for 10% off your next order. That code is DJ Quest. So check them out. Buy something because I said so.
That's a good reason. I'll just add on to that and saying that they are still working towards finding a physical location. They have a GoFundMe. If you follow us on Twitter, I retweet quite a bit of their stuff, so you should be able to find it if you're so inclined to donate towards that cause. And then they'll give you they'll give you basically half the dollar amount, whatever you donate, off your next order from them as well.
It's a good deal.
Yeah, and it would be cool to see those guys get a physical location. I mean, I'm sure running an indie bookstore like that is a big undertaking, even just to do it online. So to be able to find a brick and mortar spot for it would be a really cool thing to see, and I think a big achievement for them.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
All right. Our patrons, in order of subscription: Jan the Picker of Pies, Luciana Etrigan, Ryan the Topological, Damien the Rock of Faces, Nate Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dillon, Quartermaster, Master Sergeant, Lieutenant Parker, and David Mullally. Sorry, David, I hope I didn't butcher your last name. Still waiting on a nickname for you. If you've got something in mind, let us know. Otherwise, maybe we'll come up with something here as well. Also, I don't know if I brought this up last time, but Nate has his own podcast now with one of his buddies, and they are about done with Gardens of the Moon. I guess actually by the time that we're recording this, they might be done reading the book. Maybe just not recorded their last episode on it yet. Obviously Nate's read the series, but his buddy has not. He's like us. He's going through it. They're just going through at a faster pace than us. So they'll be starting Deadhouse Gates pretty quick, and I think at some point we will probably be joining them somewhere along the way for an episode. I think
It'd be cool to have them as guests on our show as well.
Yeah, it definitely would. We'll have to wait for them to surpass us, which probably won't take too long.
At the rate they're going, no, not at all.
Right. So to all our patrons, thank you guys so much. We love having you guys. It means the world to us. And you allow us to do things and keep trying to improve things and make things better. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, our plan, and I'm sure you're fine because we didn't really talk about this, but our plan, Patreons, is to use the funds to go to Dragon Con this upcoming year, where I think it would be cool maybe if we just did like a little 20-minute live stream from wherever down there, just something short, something quick, something to, I don't know.
I'm sure we could do like a TikTok live or fucking Instagram. I don't know. I'm sure there's something out there we can walk around and, make a video or something. So,
Yeah. I think for TikTok, you have to have like 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 followers to do live. So,
we're like one away. No, I'm just kidding. We're
right.
not.
No, we're like 972 away.
We got 83 people. So
We have 83 people following us?
on
No
TikTok.
way. I thought it was like 20 something.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We're following 83 people. We have 18. Yeah. Granted, we haven't made a video since I pied you in the face, and we haven't really made all that many videos anyways, but it's there.
Yeah. You're a PR person, man. You got to get on it and create that content. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
stick to TikTok. I stick to Twitter for the most part.
Yeah.
So.
That's fair. It's fair. All right. Well, what do you say? Should we get into chapter 2 of Memories of Ice here?
Yeah, I'm still not really used to going first here, but I will take it away. And yeah, chapter 2, I feel a little rusty on it. Just it's been busy since the last time we recorded, but I read the chapter once and then read it as I summarized it. I read your sections as well, but we'll see how much I remember here. Hopefully I don't look like a fool too much.
Fair enough. You want me to read the epigraph then?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Epigraph for chapter 2 here. One arm's host bled from countless wounds, an endless campaign, successive defeats followed by even costlier victories. But of all the wounds borne by the army of Dujek One Arm, those to its soul were the greatest. Silver Fox, Outrider, Hirishoel.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that. Hurlikel? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That epigraph reminds me of the one for Coltane, like that chant, where the chain of dogs snaps as his hand or whatever. It just kind of has that same vibe to me.
It does, yeah. Mysterious in that fashion, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I get to go first here. Section 1. Settled amongst the rocks and boulders, Corporal Picker watched the old man make his way up the path. The man's shadow clipped over Blen's position, but the man walking knew nothing about how close the soldier was. Blen rose and gave a series of hand gestures for Picker. Still, the old man knew nothing. Picker stood up and told the man, "Far enough, traveler." The man was shocked and stumbled back a step and fell on the ground. By the time he stopped, he was nearly at Blen's feet. Picker spoke, saying the old man didn't look dangerous, but in any case, there were 5 other crossbows leveled on him. So what in Hood's name was he doing out here? He pulled himself to his feet and apologized, thinking this trail unattended even by thieves, as he had his life's savings in what he carried. He could not afford a guard, let alone a mule. Picker deducted he was a traitor. So where was he going? He said he was headed to Pale, and he was from Darujistan. Picker snapped, saying that was obvious, and Pale was under imperial control, as were these hills. The man said he was not aware of the hills, but he did know about Pale. Picker asked what he was carrying. He said he was an artisan, a carver. He carried only small trinkets made of bone, jade, and serpentine. Picker asked if anything was invested with spells or anything blessed. The man said only by his talents, as he was no mage. However, he did get a priest's blessing on a set of 3 ivory torques. Picker asked what god, and the man said Treach, the tiger of summer. Picker called him a fool and said he wasn't a god, but the first hero, a demigod, a soul-taken ascendant. The man said a new temple had been sanctified in his name in Darujistan, and he was hired to punch the leather binding on the book of prayers and rituals. Picker then asked to see the torques. Picker reminded the man that there was a dozen crossbows aimed at him if he tries anything funny. The man japed, saying it was his pack, not his pants, and he thought it was only 5, not a dozen. Blen spoke up, saying their audience had grown. Picker reiterated that it was 2 full squads watching his every move. The man pulled out an ivory tusk and began to speak its history. Picker was only interested in the damned torques. The man said they were not damned. He would not sell cursed merchandise. Picker said it was a damned expression and they didn't have all damn day. And Picker asked where the blessing marks were. The man said there were none. They were each wrapped in a cloth woven from Treach's own molt hair for 9 days and 10 nights. Blend snorted and Picker said that was fucking gross. Blend said Spindle wouldn't think so. Picker continued, a set of 3 torques, left arm and right arm, and then where? He told the man to be gentle about what he said next, as they were all gentle flowers. The man said they were all for 1 arm. They interlocked but were seamless. Picker said this was something she needed to see. The man said it could only be shown once, when the purchaser, I can't say that word, initially put on their weapon arm. Picker said that sure sounded like a scam. Blend said they had him here. Cheats only worked if you had a clean getaway. Picker echoed the saying, like in Pale's crowded markets, and wanted to know the cost of them. The man said they were his most valuable work, and he hoped to auction them off. The man said 300 golden councils. Picker and Blend questioned what the exchange rate to what that would equal in jacatas. The man said the exchange rate in Pale was 2 1/3 jacatas to 1 council, while brokers' fees ate 1, so it was effectively 1 1/3 exchange rate. The man said anything less than 300 councils and he would be ruined. Picker falsely sympathized with him and said to rustle up 3 columns. The man begged not to be paid in jacatas. Picker said to calm down as Open was smiling upon him and she would now search his pack. She was obliged to do it. The man backed away, saying everything else was worth less and he was in a hurry. Picker told him this was official business now and she wasn't looking to buy anything else. The traveler asked if some trades were now forbidden in Pale. Picker said counterfeit jacatas were. The local economy was taking a beating and the Daru councils weren't any more favorable, and that they've had a pretty good haul this week. The man's eyes went wide, asking if they were going to pay him with fake money. Picker said it was tempting, but no. As she had said, Open was smiling upon him. She said she would record his name. It was mostly smugglers using these trails, but he was one of the honest ones. The clever smugglers ended up paying more in the long run on the trails when they'd be better off trying to slip past the post. The man said his name was Munug. Picker called him a poor bastard. Blend came back with a pile of coins. Munug said they were councils. Picker said that was true, and he would probably throw us back out, lugging them to Pale. Except for the fact now that he doesn't really even need to go to Pale. Munug said that was a fair point, but all the same, he was still going to head to Pale. And if Open's luck still shined, he may double his earnings. Picker looked him in the eye and said greed never pays. And if he wanted to place a 10 council bet on it, he'd probably return this way with nothing but dust in his pockets. Munug said if he lost, he'd be in debt to her. Picker said she would accept a trinket or 2 as payment. Munug declined the wager. Picker said that was too bad, and if he was ambitious, there was a camp near the summit. If he was determined, he may make it before sunset. Putting on his pack, he said he would attempt the trek. Picker told him to hold his non-existent horses. She needed to put on the torques first. Munug said of course, and to proceed. She rolled up her arm, exposing the burgundy woolen shirt. Munug gasped. Smiling, Picker said yes, they were bridge burners. The torques snapped into place on Picker's arm. With a smile, Munug asked if he could return to his journey. Picker told him to go on, hardly acknowledging him while she studied her arm. Well, what'd you think of that?
Very interesting interaction. I like Picker's sarcasm. I don't know. I don't even know her as a character, but just that type of banter, just for whatever reason, seems to fit her.
Yeah, it's nice to get a little, I guess, kind of humor. Where she's telling him to be careful, about what he does next because they're all gentle flowers and all that.
Yeah.
But part of me is, I guess this was kind of my first point, even though they're bridge burners, I really don't know how I feel about these characters yet. Just, I feel more attached to our original bridge burner crew. And I think it's just, we don't know these characters enough yet. We're just getting introduced to them, but they still feel so different than, our other guys, our other crew.
Well, we met Picker in Gardens of the Moon very briefly. She was, when Ganoz first gets into Pale, she's like sleeping, and he wakes her up and asks where the other bridge burners are. And she tells him that they're at some inn. I think blend
Oh,
to us though.
okay. So maybe like one sentence. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean
I
it's
mean, we,
still definitely an introduction because this first section has more interactions with Picker than we had in Gardens of the Moon, from what I can recall.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, like you said, maybe she had a sentence, but that was about it.
But I remember her like attitude kind of being very similar to how she was interacting with Ganoes in Gardens of the Moon. So yeah, I guess good on Erickson for being able to hold that over for, in the 10 years it took to write Gardens of the Moon and, at that time between Gardens of the Moon and Memories of Ice is what I'm trying to say. Some good attention to detail there.
Yeah. When Munnig is talking about, his wares, what did you think? This caught me right away when he mentioned jade. I don't know if it stuck out to you, but it just made me think of that statue in Deadhouse Gates. I don't
It,
know how like common a substance jade is in this world, but it just like it. Maybe it's not supposed to, but to me, it just leapt out to me like, "Hey, pay attention to this."
yeah, I thought about it, but in context, it didn't really make any sense. It reminded me of the jade statue, and I think it's just because we don't have any closure on that yet.
Right.
The one thing that did stick out to me, which I thought was cool, when he's explaining about the torques being made of ivory, he explains that they were from an ancient furry animal that was
Must
huge.
be like a mammoth, I
Yep,
assume.
yep. So I thought that was nice. So, immediately made me think of mammoth. And apparently, going a little bit deeper, it was said that it was Treech's favorite prey. So I'm almost kind of wondering if, even though they call him the Tiger of Summer, if he was a saber-toothed tiger, because mammoths and saber-toothed tigers kind of get lumped in with each other. Mainly Ice Age comes to mind, that animated movie with the kid, the sloth, So
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm kind of wondering if Treech is like a saber-tooth tiger, if he ever does get kind of explained in a little bit more detail, if he'll have giant incisors or fangs.
Yeah. Now I just think of like the squirrel running around with the nut.
Scrat. Yep.
Yeah. Maybe that's this guy. He's kind of the squirrel running around with the nut then.
Um, dude, that was low, man.
What do you mean? Munich? Like he's got well, I mean he kind of is, I feel like, a little
He's,
bit.
he's got testicular cancer, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean that gets taken care of at
And you're like, oh, he's riding around with his nut.
the parallels, man.
Oh, the unintentional parallels. Ah! Oh, that was
Yeah.
good. That was funny. Sorry.
It's all good, man. Speaking of Treach, Pickard tells him that Treach isn't a god, but the first hero, a demigod, a soul-taken ascendant. I know Treach has been brought up before, but I don't think we had that list of titles. But that first hero, a title like that is always going to stick out to me.
Right. Yeah. So I guess knowing what we know about, the Malazan universe and the Malazan world, what do you think this means to you, first hero?
Well, Treach must be pretty freaking old. But other than that, I mean, at the same time, I don't know. I mean,
But
I don't think he can be older than, because I think the oldest thing we know of so far are the Kachane Shamal, because my interpretation is that like those predate like even the Imus and shit.
that's my
Like I feel like
understanding as well. Yeah.
okay, so we're on the same thing. Like I can't believe like Treach would be that old. But we also know that like the humans called themselves the first empire, even though they weren't really the first empire, right?
Right.
But
But this also makes me think of First Sword, right?
I
And
didn't even think of that.
First Sword doesn't really have like a timeline necessarily associated with it, but we know that Decim Ultor was Kellenved's first sword.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's just like a title, like vice president or whatever,
Right. So,
just the right hand person.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that like we get a little bit more conversation about Treach in, I think, one of my sections. But yeah, the whole first hero thing is what got me like really thinking about it. And I don't really know where to go with it. I just like all of these titles here, and I'm sure that they fall into place somewhere. But again, I don't think we have enough information on Treach to really kind of draw any conclusions, so to speak.
Yeah, I would agree. I like when Picker called Munnig a poor bastard for his name because, I mean, that's a name for sure. And I assume that's what she was kind of making a jest at, was that he has kind of an ugly sounding name, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess my last thing on this section, Picker tells Munnig that greed never pays, and when I read that, it just, for whatever reason, that like just jumped out at me too. And I don't really know why. I mean, I know personally I try to be generous when I can. I mean, it's not always easy, but I don't think many people would claim that they're, or label themselves as greedy, but maybe it's just you don't see it that way, but somebody else might. But
Yeah.
This guy's looking to double his money, and maybe he can do it, but if he gets these 300 councils and can live on that for several years, why is he going to continue to make this trip to, potentially make more? I mean, he very well potentially could lose it all. He could die along the way. And I mean, I guess now that I'm thinking about this wasn't a thought I had when I read it, but just as we're talking now, I mean, this feels like foreshadowing to me towards the end of this chapter for sure. Maybe you don't feel that way?
No, makes sense. I don't have any type of rebuttals. I agree.
Okay.
This isn't Dead House Gates, Derek.
Not yet. But I guess at the same time, maybe he didn't really have a choice with where he was going. So I don't know. I guess maybe we don't know enough there, but
I think his motivations, which I think are revealed in this next section, but it sounds like he's just trying to be able to afford a Denal healer to take care of his testicular cancer.
Right.
Is what I am recalling, but they don't know that. Obviously, Blend and Picker have no idea that this is a thing, right? So
yeah, just it feels like a warning for sure. I mean, I guess it's intended to be a warning, I think, but
yeah.
I guess I just didn't really think of it that way until you and I had our conversation here, which I like when that stuff happens because it gets me thinking about it. You're reading and sometimes you don't always put those things together. Well, and maybe I wouldn't have if I didn't have you to talk to about it.
Right. I mean, I think that's fundamental reason as to why we wanted to start this podcast. Especially after going through the Wheel of Time, and it's funny to think about, like, if we would have talked like this about Wheel of Time, how much more immersive that story would be to us. So yeah.
Agreed.
But I mean, you're coming from, Picker and Blend's perspective. I mean, they have no idea. They're just like, hey, don't be too greedy. But also, he could have easily just walked back to Jerujistan and then avoided the whole interaction that's to come up, right? So in a way, he is being greedy.
Right. And it don't pay. Because
affording a Denal healer is his plan B, not his plan A.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess, I mean, if you can, yeah, it's kind of funny how it works out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really liked the opening to this chapter. I thought this was really cool. We're outside of Pale, and I even looked in the map at the front of the book, and I was able to find the Talon Mountains, which it seems they are occupying. So you remember like Lake Azure?
Yep.
Just think of it as a circle. Pale is in the upper left-hand corner. Jerusalem's in like the lower right corner. They're all the way like straight up from Jerusalem, but like straight over from Pale. They're in like the upper right corner of Lake Azure. Azure.
Gotcha. Yeah, however you say it, I don't know.
It's funny because we use a system at work called Microsoft Azure. So, yeah,
I guess I'm fine with that pronunciation.
makes me think I'm saying it wrong now. Like it's
I
something.
don't. Yeah, that's the pronunciation's not always the important part, right?
Yeah, but I think I'm totally butchering it. Oh no, it is Lake Azure. Wow, that's fucking cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're good.
I remembered. But yeah, I really enjoyed this section. I like the interaction. They're definitely, guarding this trail. It sounds like they are making sure that people who aren't supposed to get into Pale are getting into Pale. Kind of, basically like TSA at this point.
I kind of felt like they were out here specifically for him, maybe not so much other people.
I thought that they were out here for anybody who's traveling these hills because it sounds like they want to avoid the main path. So they have soldiers out on like the surrounding hills, like making sure nobody like sneaks by.
I mean, that definitely makes sense too. I don't know, for whatever reason, it felt like, or I mean, maybe you're right, and maybe they're just told to watch out for, this person, somebody specific, matches this description type deal, just from what happens later on.
Fair enough. I guess I can get that sense too. I feel like they were stationed there to like watch the side roads, so to speak.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like I said, I definitely can see that, and maybe it's just a mixture of both, or maybe not.
Yeah, who knows? I think it's a small point. There's no taking a
Right.
pie for who's right or wrong on that one.
Yeah, it's not a major plot point by any means.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, what do you say? Should we move on?
Yeah, definitely. We can move on here.
All right. Section 2 here. Munug found the side cut in the path a short while later. Before entering, he checked to make sure that he wasn't followed. He quickly slipped behind the 2 tilting stones that formed the entrance. The gloomy passage ended after half a dozen paces and opened out onto a track, winding through a high-walled fissure. Sunset was less than 100 heartbeats away, and the delay with the bridge burners could prove fatal. The coins were heavy, and his heart thumped in his chest. He wasn't used to such strenuous efforts, as he was an artisan after all. He was down on his luck as of late, perhaps weakened by the tumors that hung between his legs. Despite all that, his skills as an artisan had grown sharper for all the pain he'd suffered. He recollects what had been said to him previously, and that he'd been chosen because of his flaws, and of course, his skills. A god's blessing would surely take care of the tumors he had. If not, then the 300 councils would come close to paying for a Denal healer in Darujistan. After all, it wasn't wise to trust solely in a god's payment for his services. His tale about the auction in Pale was true enough, but it was good to have options and a backup plan. Sculpting and carving were his lesser skills, and he was not so modest about his high quality of work, but there was nothing that compared to his painting. He hastened along the track. 10 paces later, he passed through the Warren's Gate. The Talon Mountains and its cleft disappeared, and he faced a stony plain beneath a sickly sky. Further out on the plain, a tent with smoke hanging over it in a sea blue haze. Munug hurried toward it. Breathing heavily, he crouched down and scratched on the flap. A ragged cough was heard from within, and a raspy voice told him to enter. Munug crawled in. Thick smoke assaulted his eyes, nose, and throat. He kept his head lowered and his eyes averted. He stopped just within the entrance and waited. Wheezing, the god said that Munug was late. Munug explained about the bridge burner soldiers on the trail. The god inquired if they found it. Munug explained that they didn't find it. The god told Munug to show him. The artisan reached into his tunic and pulled out a thick book-sized package. He unwrapped it to reveal a stack of wooden cards. He pushed the cards in the god's direction and then spread them out. He heard the god's breath catch, then a low rustle. When the god spoke, it sounded closer. Flaws. Munug tells the god that yes, just as he was instructed, one for each card. The god said that this pleased him, and Munug's skill was unsurpassed. The images were of pure pain and imperfection. They assault his eyes and bleed his heart. Dry amusement entered the god's tone as he said that the depictions were of the artisan's own soul. Munug starts to say that he has experienced little happiness before a hiss from the god cuts him off. The god said that Munug shouldn't expect it, at least not in this life, nor the thousands of other lives he's doomed to endure. Munug begs that there be no release from his suffering as he trembles. The god tells Munug that he lies, and the artisan carries the gold he hopes will achieve it, and continue with the means of selling his work. The god sees his soul, but fear not, as these emotions amuse the god. Munug just agrees. The god says now on to his payment. The man screamed as blossoms of fire came from within his tumors between his legs. Twisting in agony, he curled up on the floor. The god laughed, the horrible sound breaking into lung-ravaging coughs. The pain, Munug realized, was slowly fading. The god tells the artisan that he is healed, and that Munug can continue on with his miserable life and live more years. Munug is heard saying that he cannot feel his legs. The god informs the artisan that his legs are dead, and such was the price of curing the tumors. The god laughed again. That horrible sound coming from the god was heard once again. Knowing that he was dismissed, he crawled out of the tent and lay gasping. The pain he now felt came from his soul. Laying there, using his pack as a pillow, he said to himself that his rewards. Blessed is the touch of the fallen one. From the tent behind him, the crippled god's laugh hacked the air. He is heard saying that Munug should cherish this moment, as it was by the artisan's hand that the new game has begun. The world shall tremble. Munug closed his eyes and said, "My rewards."
Nice, man.
All right. Diabolical, man. Fucking sinister section. I was not expecting any of this.
No, neither was I.
I guess I'll just get right into it. First thing that I had was when Munug unwrapped to reveal a stack of wooden cards. And I wonder if these are like a homemade deck of dragons or something, but with flaws on them and imperfections.
Yeah, I wonder if it's to like, make them look like they're used or something, but I felt the same way.
You thought they were like a homemade deck of dragons with just what I would imagine are the opposite of deck of dragons, which kind of seem to be like a foretelling thing. These are cards that would predict these flaws and imperfections.
I wonder if they're going to I don't know why they would need to do this, but maybe they're going to try to pull a switcheroo. Like maybe there's another deck out there that actually works or whatever, and they're going to swap them with these fake ones for whatever reason.
Maybe.
Like an Indiana Jones type thing. Then they're going to run away from a rolling rock.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my left field theory for you.
I mean, obviously he's powerful, as we get a sense of later in this chapter. But that would be my guess, is that he's going to use his magic to make these cards a reality. And if these cards are depicting flaws and imperfection and pure pain, I wonder if that relates to what we see later.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
The other thing that I thought was just so brutal was just the dry amusement entering the crippled god's tone. And he said that the depictions were of the artisan's own soul. And how sinister is that to say to this man who's got clearly some type of testicular cancer?
Yeah, he just gives zero fucks at all about this guy's suffering.
Right. He makes a mockery of it.
Yeah, And then later on, he grabs his dick and twists it.
Pretty much. Yep. Yep.
I wanted to scream that out when you read that part. Grab his dick and twist it.
Yeah, you pretty
Oh my
much
God.
did. But I mean, yeah, okay. The tumors are gone, but now he can't use his legs.
Yeah, he's fucking
Oh.
paralyzed, like from the waist down. Like,
But also, don't you find it ironic that this guy's name is the Crippled God, and he essentially just crippled this poor mortal?
maybe that's why he's called the Crippled God. He's not crippled himself. He just cripples other people. I don't know.
He is crippled, though.
Did we learn that? I didn't remember that.
Remember in the prologue when they're talking about how he fell? He like fell in different pieces or whatever. And like I think later on in Quick Ben's interaction with him, his hand is like broken in some way, shape, or form.
I guess I don't remember that. Well, maybe he's just trying to make the world like himself then. His goal's to make everybody a cripple.
Well, I imagine what has happened is clearly we're getting a manifestation of the crippled god. And I know that he was kind of thrown around in Gardens of the Moon. I don't think very much in I don't think at all in Dead House Gates was he talked about. But I think based on what we know in the prologue until this point in time, I think that he's been collecting his body parts that fell and like putting them back together, like Frankensteining himself.
Sure.
So imagine that he's just an ensemble of broken bones and his whole like ragged cough thing,
I think of like myself, like when I have a coughing fit.
except like try laughing while you're doing that.
Well, sometimes a laugh leads to it. So like, yeah, I get it.
Fair enough.
But I don't think I'm that evil. I don't do it like in an evil way. It's just like I find something funny and then I start laughing and you laugh so hard you start coughing.
Yeah, that's fair. But this is him just laughing normally,
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say, but I think this kind of ties back into our conversation about greed. Like, it says at the beginning here that he could almost afford a Denal healer. Like, he would still have his legs if he went that route. So Picker's
Yeah.
advice he should have listened to. He got greedy. He was hoping
Right.
to use that money to live lavishly.
Yeah, it was like I said, it was kind of foreshadowing there, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the whole part about emotions amuse the god. Like, I think that was your comment, but
Yeah, two of them. I mean, two of these lines were really quite dark. Like where the god says, "Monarch shouldn't expect happiness, not in this life or in thousands of other lives that he's doomed to endure." Like Jesus Christ, like how fucking dark. And then his emotions amuse the god. I don't usually type on your stuff, but when I was reading that section, I'm like, holy fuck, dude! Like emotions are the path to despair. Like Jesus, this guy needs to maybe find Jesus. He needs a little light in his life.
I feel like this guy is the embodiment of depression.
He's the fucking vampire dude from that Big Mouth cartoon.
Oh yeah. God, what is that?
I can't. You know what I'm talking. I can't remember what the hell he was called. Now I'm gonna look it up now, quick. That's quite the show. What the hell is he? The Shame Wizard.
Yeah. Yes. The crippled god is the shame wizard from Big.
If you haven't watched Big Mouth, it is a cartoon very much for adults.
Yep.
And it is something. I will just say that. It is funny, but it is something.
I mean, that stage of your life is kind of amusing. Like, it's embarrassing when you're going through it, but looking back at it, it's just like, God damn, I was an idiot,
Yeah, and those emotions are the path to despair for the Shame Wizard.
The shame wizard. The last point that I had was just at the end there when the crippled god is basically thanking the artisan's skills for creating the new game, because the new game has begun. And I'm imagining that the crippled god plans to use them to seek revenge or just unleash a whole new world of hell, because I'm assuming if I'm right and that these are indeed a deck of dragons with flaws incorporated in them, then what good is that going to come if these are cards that will unleash flaws, and imperfections?
I don't know. I wonder but maybe they're going to try to get these cards into somebody's hand and they're going to interpret them wrong and make some bad moves or something. I mean, I don't know. These are just things that I'm wondering about now.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for more of this, but I feel like I'm right on this one. I feel like I got that right, even though I'm probably not. But you know what? I'm cool with that.
We're going to have to read and find out.
That's right. But those are the only things that I had to say about that, like, very sinister interaction with the crippled god there. Feel bad for Munug.
I mean, I don't know how bad I feel for him. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's just like a regular everyday guy who just got a shit hand, and now he's made it worse for himself, or if he was being greedy and he's kind of got his comeuppance. I'm not sure. So I don't feel bad, but I don't. I'm not happy about it either.
Fair enough. All right then.
Ready to move on?
Ready if you are.
I'm ready. Blend watched as the traitor disappeared from view, saying the man was not as he seemed. Picker agreed, saying none of them are. Pulling at her newly acquired torques, she said they were tight. Blend said her arm would likely rot and fall off. Surprised, she asked Blend if Blend thought they were cursed. Shrugging, Blend said they would have Quick Ben take a look at them. Picker said if Blend was suspicious, Blend rebutted, saying it was her complaining they were tight. Was she able to get them off? Picker damned Blend and said no. She said she was happy she paid 300 councils for her arm to fall off. Blend said at least she'd have something to talk to Dujek about. She said she really did hate Blend. Blend smiled at Picker and asked if she dropped a pebble into his pack. Picker said yes, he was fidgety enough to warrant it. Picker said Quick Ben would track him. Blend interrupted and said unless he cleaned out his pack. Picker said he cared less about what was in his pack than she did. Whatever actual treasure he carried was under his shirt, but he would put the word out when he got to Pale. The traffic of smugglers in these hills would drop sharply. She would bet on it. Plus, she gave him the line about better chances at the divide. Blend smiled and said chaos at the crossroads. The only chaos there was what Paran and crew would need to do with all their takings. They decided to make some food, as the Moranth would probably be punctual as usual. They headed up the trail.
Dude, it just dawned on me now. The whole thing about Blend said that at least she'd have something to talk to Dujek about. I don't know what it is about me forgetting that characters don't have arms. I did it with Apsalar's father, and I did it with Dujek just now, and now I get it. So
yeah, that was funny.
That was really funny.
Yeah, rereading this section, it does seem like you're probably right. They're out here looking for anybody, but part of me then wonders, they put this tracking pebble on him. What was that? Just because he was suspicious, or did he match a description or something? I think maybe they were doing this to more people potentially if they came across him. But
I think it's because they did see him as suspicious, and I'm assuming that it's an order from Quick Ben to put tracker pebbles in suspicious persons' stuff. So because clearly they know that he was hiding something under his shirt. I mean,
right.
Why they didn't call him out on it, I think it has something to do with that's said later on in this chapter about something to do with the merchants. You couldn't seize everything. You had to let some things go,
Right. Yeah.
So,
well, I didn't really have anything in this section other than I thought that was funny about having something in common with Dujek.
Yep. At least something to talk to him about. Yeah, I think that's definitely the best humorous line in this chapter. But yeah, no, it was a nice transition piece. Again, I really enjoy the banter between these two. They both seem to kind of have similar personalities, just like very dry, sarcastic with each other. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually like it. Doesn't I don't get the feeling that they like to be together.
Or is it just kind of the banner you have with somebody that you've served with, worked with for a long time?
Right. I mean, that very well could be too, but yeah, either way, it could go either way, I guess.
Yeah. I guess personally, I didn't pick up on anything that they like disliked each other. It was just kind of that joking type thing.
Well, I feel like Picker says that she wants to hit her, even though she never will.
Well,
Something,
right. Like if you were joking around that my arm was going to fall off, I'd probably be like, well, fuck you, Justin. I'm going to smack you with my arm after it falls off then. But it
right?
wouldn't be because I was like, I didn't like you. It was just like, we're going to poke fun at each other a little bit. But maybe I'm just, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm reading it. Well, obviously, I'm just reading it differently than you. But I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It could either go either way because we really don't know a ton about these two particular characters. So we're just these are our first impressions, really.
Yeah, I guess the one thing I lean on is that it's I mean there's 40 bridge burners left or whatever, somewhere around there. It's a pretty small number, so I feel like this group of soldiers have been through a lot of shit. They're probably going to have each other's back, even if they maybe they don't like the other person a whole lot. I mean it's kind of I don't know how, I guess, elite they are.
Like a tight knit
Um,
community.
yeah.
I feel you there. I see that. Yeah, I would agree.
All right.
Cool. An hour after sunset, a flight of black Moranth arrived, descending on their quarrels into the ring of lanterns that Picker and Blend had set out. One of them carried a passenger that was quick to dismount as soon as the quarrels had landed. Picker grinned at the man cursing and called Quick Ben over to her. Quick spun to face her and asked what she had been up to. She tells him that they haven't been up to much, and she inquires as to why he's asking. He glanced over his shoulder at the quarrels and then hastened to Picker and Blend's position. When he arrived, he explained that they need to keep things simple. As coming over the hills, he nearly fell out of his saddle. He explains that there's a warren swirling around down here, and it's also coming from Picker as well. Blend could be heard saying that it was cursed after all. Picker glared at Blend and sarcastically said that she had known the whole time. Quick Ben interrupted and said that she was blessed by an ascendant, and which one. With a dry throat, she was unable to swallow her saliva. She managed to get out that it was Treach. Quick Ben is heard saying that this was just great. Picker asked what was so wrong with Treach, as he was perfect for a soldier, a tiger of summer. Quick Ben said that maybe 5 centuries ago, but that was before Treach veered into his soul-taken form hundreds of years ago, and hasn't had a human thought since. It was just mindless. It was insane. Blend could be heard chuckling at Picker. Quick Ben turned on her and asked her what was so funny. Blend apologized. Picker rolled up her sleeves to show Quick Ben the torques. She asked if he could get the torques off of her. Quick Ben recoiled at seeing the torques, and then said that if it was a more reasonable ascendant, then it was likely they could come off. Negotiations were, however, possible, but never mind. As soon as Quick Ben finished saying never mind, Picker exploded on the mage and grabbed his rain cloak. She shook him violently and cursed at him. Quick Ben asked what the corporal was doing. Picker apologized and Quick Ben smoothed out his rain cloak. Quick Ben tells Blend to lead the Moranth to the cache. Quick Ben asked Picker who had made the delivery. Picker said the Torques? Quick Ben told her to forget about the Torques and who made the damn delivery of councils from Jerujistan. Picker goes on to explain who had delivered them. Quick Ben then puts it together that it was the Trigali Trade Guild. Based on Picker's description, Quick Ben said to her that those people made him nervous. He then said he would ask his last question. He asks Picker who she gave his tracking stone to. Picker responded that it was a carrier of trinkets. Quick Ben put it together as in trinkets like the one on your arm. Picker explains that she searched his bag and put the tracking stone in there. Quick turned and watched the Moranth and load up wrapped columns of coin. Quick tells Picker that he doesn't think the stone has gone far and he'll just have to go find it. Picker watches as the wizard walks a few paces away and then sits on the ground. Picker watched the loading of coins and instructed Blend on a few commands. Picker was thankful that the nights outside of Pale had been warm, as she was getting too old to be sleeping on the ground. The delivery of coins had taken about a week, but with Darugistan's generous contribution, Dujek would be able to complete his army's resupply. With Opan's luck, they'll be on the march in a week. Picker has a thought that they'd be off to another hood-damned war. She wonders who or what is this Panian Domin. So yeah, Treach hasn't had a human thought in over 5 centuries.
A little bit of a psychopath here, maybe.
Yep. So do you think that's kind of the reason the Torques won't come off?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if it has something to do with that, or I guess I don't know what else it could be.
Huh. Did you have to look up what Torques were?
I did not know what that word was, but then, like, as I read the chapter, I kind of assumed it was like a bracer almost. I mean, it's just, to me, it just sounds like it's armor that covers your arm. You know, I imagine it's basically going from like maybe just above your wrist all the way up your shoulder in this case.
Oh, huh. I didn't even think of that. I thought it was just like those, like 3, you know how like some women in movies that are like maybe Egyptian or whatever the case is, like those 3 like armbands that go around your arm. Like I want to say in The Mummy Returns, in one of like the flashback scenes from ancient Egypt, Natiri, or not Natiri, I don't even fucking remember, Nefertiti and the other chick that Rachel Weisz plays. In one scene, they're wearing like a snake that's wrapped around the arm, but there's like 3 bands or whatever. I thought it was like a jewelry.
I think I was just trying to look it up, and it looks like you're more right. It seems like it's like a bracelet almost, but
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
like
This
for your
seems
upper arm.
different.
Yeah.
I mean, these lock together, so I don't know. I feel like there's coverage, for most of her arm, basically, but maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess it's hard to say, being that
Somebody explain it to us.
Right. Show us a picture.
I mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. The first thing that I had was, as it was described, that Quick Ben smoothed out his rain cloak. I thought of the Wheel of Time, where it's nothing but smoothing of dresses. And
oh, Nynaeve.
Yep. So just a segue into a different series. And if you've read it, great. And you may know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should read it anyway.
Agreed.
So Quick, as he's watching the Moranth load up wrapped columns of coins, and to me, it looks like the series events are Darugistan is funding Dujek and his army's resupply. So they sent the Trigali Trade Guild out to these hills to meet the Moranth, and then the Moranth would take it back to Pale, is my guess. And also, does that mean that Picker stole Darugistan's money to pay for these Torques? Like, where did she get the coin?
Yeah, I don't know. Did not think about that. I guess it makes sense. I mean, I can't imagine most soldiers just have 300, gold coins or whatever on them.
All right, because she tells Blend to go get the coins. And then that's when she searches his pack and puts a stone in there. And obviously it's just them out there. They tell Munug that there's 5 crossbows aimed trained on him, but I don't think that's true. So it was just her searching the pack.
I didn't even think of that either, that she was bullshitting on that. I don't even know why that didn't dawn on me.
That's just the vibe I get, because...
But it makes sense now that you say it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool how things get connected, but aren't really told to you that they're connected. Clearly things after the Fete have progressed, right? And to me, that's just kind of filling in the gaps, right? So, etc., etc. It's nice to see that Darujistan has clearly, allied with Dujek and is funding his resupply of his army. It's a small thing, but it's just really good to know. And I hope that this isn't a way for like Baruch and the Darujistan leaders to kind of lord over Dujek, or like a carrot on a string type of thing. Like, hey, we resupplied your army. Like, you need to do this and that, and
Oh, yeah.
manipulation.
I don't know. I feel like even if they tried that, Dujek could just be like, fuck off. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, very true.
I think he'd just be like, oh, okay, well, you guys don't want to fund me. I guess I'll just withdraw and you guys can get fucked by the Panny Endowment. So
Right.
good luck.
Exactly. Peace, bitches.
Right.
Yeah, those are the only things that I had in that section. Again, it's pretty interactive. We know that Quick Ben is looking for his coin or his stone, and I guess that really just leads us into the next section.
Yeah, I can take it away here. We are going through this a little faster than I thought we would, which is fine. I thought maybe this might be a little bit longer episode. Not that we're done yet or
We're
anything.
only
But
halfway there, so we've been talking an hour and a half already.
oh, yeah, I mean, it's probably been a little over an hour. We had a few minutes of just this and that, but
Sure.
all right. Quick Ben had left Darujistan 8 weeks ago and had been attached to second in command of Whiskey Jack's staff, consolidating Dujak's rebel army, assisting in the transformation from occupation to possession. Dujak's host and the Malazans had split ways, but Quick Ben could not help but wonder what imperial responsibilities he had been tasked with to complete. Dujek was waiting for Caladan Brood and his army to make its way south. Only the previous day had it reached the plain north of Pale. Tisti Andy, or Teist Andy, Bargast, and Rivi, but there would be no war this time. Quick Ben thought they had decided to fight a new enemy, assuming the parley went smoothly. The Panny and Doman, Quick Ben had a bad feeling about it. He closed his eyes and his soul slipped away from his body. For a moment, he could not sense the pebble, so he trusted proximity to alert his sense sooner or later. For the time being, that meant going ahead blind, which he hated. Suddenly he found it. It was close, but his vision was nothing but darkness. He realized he was in a warren, but was alarmed that he didn't recognize it. It was familiar, but wrong. There was a red light that came from a tent ahead of him, but he could not sense anything that came from within it. He reached the tent, acknowledging that curiosity was his greatest weakness, and looked inside. A figure wrapped in a blanket sat against the wall, leaning over the fire. Its breathing was difficult, and it spoke, beckoning him inside, saying it believed he had something of his. Quick Ben gathered his warrens. Only 7 of them. Though he was reluctant, power rippled through him. The figure struggled to breathe and said he must retrieve it. Quick Ben asked who he was. The figure said broken, shattered, chained to a corpse beneath him. He did not ask for this fate, and he was not always a creature of pain. Quick Ben put his hand to the earth and searched with his powers. After some time, he said he infected her. The figure said in this world he was a cancer, and as each day passed, he became more and more virulent. She could not awaken while he burgeoned in her flesh. He shifted slightly under the blanket, and chains could be heard. He said gods bound him, and he thought the task complete. Quick Ben said he wished a service in exchange for a tracker. The figure agreed, saying if he must suffer, so must the gods of this world. Quick Ben unleashed the power of his warrens. The figure shrieked, its blanket bursting into flame. Quick Ben bum-rushed the figure and jammed his fingers into his eyes, his palm slamming into its forehead, his other hand scooping up the pebble. The power of the warrens faded out. Quick Ben dove for the entrance. The chained creature cried with rage. Quick Ben got to his feet and ran. He was hit from behind with a wave of magic. He tried to get away, but the power was too much and began to pull him backwards. The invisible hand pulled him backwards to the tent. The god roared that he would know pain. Something came up from below. The earth grabbed him like a giant child grabbing a toy. Quick Ben screamed as he was pulled below, his mouth filling with dirt. Rocks ripped his body as he was dragged below to the sleeping goddess. Suffocating, the black crept in. He was coughing up dirt and mud, air filling his lungs. Removing dirt from his eyes, he rolled onto his side. Though he was alive, he looked up and nearly cried out. Something loosely human-shaped towered over him, 15 times his height. Quick Ben knew this is what saved him from the crippled god. It appeared to be holding the ceiling up. Another 1,000 paces or so away was another creature, seemed to be doing the same thing. Quick Ben turned and looked the other direction, seeing 4, maybe 5 other creatures doing the same. He realized he was within burn, a living warren of flesh and bone. He called out to the creatures, saying they had his gratitude. A head looked down on Quick Ben, and a childlike voice spoke to him. "Help us!" Filled with despair, Quick Ben could not understand. "Help?" The creature said Mother weakened. They would die. Help them. Quick Ben asked how. The creature only repeated its cry for help. Quick Ben didn't know how. He rose to his feet. The crippled god was killing them, poisoning Burn's flesh. Quick Ben asked how much time he had. The creature said it was soon, perhaps tens of years. The moment nears. Help us. Quick Ben sighed, thinking that centuries must only feel as days to these creatures. He wondered what would happen if Burn died. He didn't want to find out. He decided that this would now be his war. He told the servant that he would leave something so that he could find them again. The giant said no. Leave it with them. It would die. Perhaps another would come. Quick Ben said he would find the answer. He swore it. He opened his warren. Without a look back, afraid it would break his heart, he walked through and was gone. Wow. Yeah, that was really something.
Mm-hmm. Not expecting that one either. Was not
No.
expecting any of that. So that was really cool. This is probably my favorite section in this chapter.
Yeah, this was one of the moments where I told you, I read this chapter, and then, like, when I was summarizing it, I did not remember any of this. So I was like, yeah, like, did I really read this chapter? Because, yeah, this, like, it all felt new when I was summarizing it for whatever reason. And, like it was a pretty fucking sweet part of the chapter, like, very visual and emotional. So I don't know why I didn't remember reading this.
Yeah. It was just beautiful. It was just so expertly crafted, I guess is all I mean, like I'm at a loss for words on how to describe it because it was just good. It was just so good.
Yeah, it was, again, pretty dark. But I guess to go through my thoughts here, towards the beginning here, I got the feeling that Quick Ben was like spirit walking almost, or some version of that. And he was like searching for this pebble. I feel like you kind of thought similarly.
Yeah. I thought of like astral projection. How you kind of like see that come to life in certain movies, which is cool. It's kind of a good way to explore, right? Because I would imagine that you yourself are not harmed if you're spirit walking, like you're physically unharmed.
I guess I don't know. I mean,
you may feel the pain in that moment, but like you physically are not, like if you were to get punched in the spirit walking face, you would feel it, it would hurt, but on your physical body there would be no bruise. It's kind of like how I'm imagining his interactions, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, I guess not that this is other book series, but I think, again, to the Wheel of Time where, in the dream world, whatever happens there translates into your real body. If you get cut there, you'll have a cut when you wake up. If you die there, you die. Your body dies. Again, different books, different book series, but I wonder, if he would have died there or been killed, so to speak, like how would that have translated through? Would he just wake up? I guess I don't know how sure I am.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe that will get answered in time as we go through the series.
Yeah, that's true. I like, where it talks about Quickben gathered only 7 warrens. Like, oh yeah, only 7. Because we know that that's like basically unheard of that somebody can command 7 warrens at the same time.
Well, doesn't
But
he say that he can command more than 7? He can just only command 7 at a time.
maybe, I guess I don't remember, but like even still, like that seems absurd to me that he can handle 7 of them. It just makes me feel like Quickben is severely like underestimated for his strength.
Or he's 7 other people in disguise.
It's still. I mean, he's still underestimated. Even if that's the case,
I'm just bringing her
who's
to
he?
the
Who's he gonna be in this book, Justin?
He's everybody. He's actually a Scarl Boost right now.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. At this point in time, he's just meeting up with Mappo and Icarium in the 7 cities. So
Yeah.
he can multitask
Uh,
7 at once. So just saying, man. I'm just saying.
I don't feel like it works that way, but you very well could be right. I don't know.
I'm not. Yeah. I'm just making fun of myself. That's all.
Um, my next thought here, I know I kind of had. I was like, well, who did he infect? And you said it's like Bird or Mother Earth. And now I feel like that's obvious. I don't know why I couldn't put that together at the time
No, it's fair.
when I read that. Let's see. Oh man, this whole section with like these creatures holding up like the warren or whatever the hell was going on there, and they're just, they're saying that Mother's weakened and they would die, and they're pleading for help. It's like, oh man, like these must be like Mother Earth's like children, and they're just like watching their mother die. Like, fuck, man. Like, it was just, what do you do? Like, obviously, Quickben wants to help, but he, like, in order to help them, he's got to leave, and obviously that, like, pains him.
I just get like the sense of like Atlas from Greek mythology, except many of them. And instead of it literally being under the world holding it up, they're inside of the world holding up the land, is kind of the sense that I got.
Yeah, they're living in the mole tunnels in the world.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting visual because it sounds like it made it seem like they're holding up rib cages, you know? Like if Mother Earth had ribs, they were like holding it up. So
I guess I don't remember, like, the rib part, but, I mean, yeah, definitely, the sense that they're just holding things up was very apparent for sure.
yeah. So, and one of these guys even dies in front of Quickben's eyes, right? And he's just like, "No worries, another will be there to like replace me."
Maybe.
But or maybe.
Well, yeah, well, I think it knew it was dying, and I don't think it was like dead by the time Quickben left. I felt like, this thing's saying like the end is only like tens of years away, which, from the other sentence saying, centuries must be like a heartbeat or whatever, or a century feels as like a day, days, like 10 years must be like a blink of an eye, basically.
I didn't even think of
I
it.
got this.
Yeah, that's good.
I got the sense that this thing like knew it's probably going to die pretty soon, but it wasn't quite dead yet, I guess, is what I thought.
Fair enough. No, I really like that perspective. I will agree with you there.
Yeah, I didn't have anything else there. If you want to continue on, or if there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
No, it was a cool section. I mean, again, I wish that I had more information, but we don't. But just here's the information that's presented to us about it, and here you go. Here it is. Do your worst, kind of a thing.
Or best.
I think it's interesting. I don't know. I feel like the other gods, if what the crippled god is saying is true, is like this is intentional. I feel like if the other gods know that he is a cancer and they have chained him to burn, then that just makes me think that it's planned, that they're using him to destroy the earth.
Oh, you know what, dude? You know what I've been thinking? And it's all because of these chains. Like, what if this guy, this god, what if he was in Rake's sword and he got out like the back door, but he's still like chained?
Well, he's a foreign god.
True, but like the prologue was hundreds of thousands of years ago, and there's a lot of time in between there and where we are now, where we don't know anything.
So you think that
Maybe
Animator fought him, or even Draconis did? Yeah,
maybe they had an encounter at some point. I don't know. Another left field theory. I don't know.
fair
But he's
enough.
still got like the chains on. Maybe it's like slowly trying to reel him back in or something. I don't know. Again, it's not anything I'm expecting to be right. It's just like one of those things I'm kind of like wondering about. Like, oh, like he's chained because in Dragnipur everything was chained within that, right?
I believe so. So maybe the hooded figure was the crippled god, and he saw Paran set the hounds free and gave himself an idea, and basically just replicated what Paran did and then got out.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's just kind of like a thought I'm having. Again, I don't expect it to be right or anything, but it'd be kind
Yeah.
of funny if it was.
It's cool to speculate. I mean, again, we're probably wrong on everything, but I think that's the fun in it, I mean, it makes these more real to us, or me at least.
Yeah, and maybe forgive me, I forget your first name. All I remember is Potato Noob. I know you comment a lot on the YouTube videos. You can maybe
Yeah.
without Livia Potato Noob, maybe you can, without spoiling things, you can maybe set me straight there. So a
Yeah.
little shout out for you also.
Well, yeah, I don't have anything else to talk about that impressive section.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because then it made me remember I was thinking about that before. Otherwise, I probably would have forgot to even mention it as a fun side thing.
Sure. Awesome. Are you ready to move on to my doozy of a section?
Yes,
All
do
right.
it to it.
A hand shook his shoulder violently, and Quick Ben opened his eyes. Picker was cursing at him as it was almost dawn and it was time to fly. She helped the mage get to his feet as he groaned while attempting to stand up. Picker asked if he was successful in getting the stone. He tells her that no, he wasn't able to get it back and that they were in trouble. Picker took this non-seriously and said that they're always in trouble. Digging his heels in the ground, stopping them, he explains that all of us are doomed. Picker realized the severity of what the mage was saying, said okay, but they still have to get moving. Quick Ben says that she'll have to strap him in as he won't be able to stay awake. They came to the quarrels. Picker muttered Queen of Dreams as she wrapped the leather harness around Quick. She said to him that she's never seen him that scared before, and he's got her ready to piss at ice cubes. They were the last words that Quick Ben remembered from the night, but remembered them he did. He knows shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah, I also think about how uncomfortable it would be to piss ice cubes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, would they melt on the way out?
I'm just imagining that not happening.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. Anyways, not a visual I really need, but that's what I was.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know why I talk, Justin.
It's cool. I have those moments too. But I don't have anything for this section. It felt like it was transitional. Just kind of picking up Quick Ben. His soul has his spirits or whatever, his astral projection has clearly come back. But, he's been doing this for a while. He's been out of his body for some time. So, because I feel like the sun was setting in Munig's section. So he had to be on the ground for at least 10, 11 hours.
Yeah, it must have been a little while. I'm going to say something, and this is going to be a thing where you're going to be like, Derek, remember when you just said you don't know why you talk? It's going to be one of those moments. But you keep saying astral projections, and I keep thinking of Astroglide.
Yep. I'm going to refer to your comment there. Yep. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not even drinking. I'm sober.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I have one beer. I'm being good. Trying to.
All right. Well, be good and read this next section.
All right. I'll glide right on into it, Justin.
There you go. Gross.
I'm going to start coughing because I'm laughing now. Everything's just coming together here. All right, let me compose myself. Paran was plagued by images of drowning, but not in water. It was drowning in darkness. Whenever he closed his eyes, he was taken by vertigo and was as if he was a child again. His soul twisted with pain. He left the barricade at the divide where the traders were still making their way through the Malazan guards. He had done as Dujek commanded, setting up camp across the throat of the pass. Taxes and wagon searches brought in a large sum of money, but as the news spread, the returns diminished. Since the mess in Darujistan, Paran had not felt like himself. He had been tossed every direction by the chaotic transformation of Dujek and his renegade army. The support of the Malazan army had been cut away, and support had all but collapsed. The burden placed on the officer corps had been overwhelming, and Paran was not one to give reassurance. He felt unable to deal with all the items that had rolled up to him because of his rank. He had not felt well for weeks and suspected it was the hound's blood that was the source of his ailings. He pushed that thought away, but knew it would return. He glanced up to Trot's position and continued his walk. The pain from illness changed him. He felt as if his soul had been reduced. Whatever triumphs he had produced now felt of no consequence. Saving a city, saving Whiskey Jack and the others, foiling Lassine's plans, all these thoughts turned to ash in Paran's mind. He did not like how he felt now. Pain darkened Paran's world, and he thought about the bestial blood, its whispers of freedom, whispers of a way out, but not from the darkness, but into darkness where the hounds went deep into the heart of Dragnapur. He could not shake the feeling of confusion. He had escaped the world of the sword, yet his chains drew tighter and tighter, and he did not know what that meant he would become. The Barghast sat high on the grasses looking over the divide. The flow of traders on both sides of the divide had begun to dwindle. While some set up camp, it was becoming an unofficial wayside rest. If things did not change, eventually it would turn into a village. Paran knew it wouldn't happen. Dujek had planned their immediate future, and it looked like they would be an army on the march. What looked even worse was that there were creases on the map, and it looked like the bridge burners would fall deep into one. Trotz asked what he and Whiskey Jack had cooked up, and said, "The cold darkness ends." Paran called him a fool and said the sun was moments away from setting. Paran said they would return to Pale this night, and he imagined Whiskey Jack already told him that, and it looked like Hedge was on his way to relieve him as lookout, and said he would finish the rounds. Walking off, he thought, "Damn you, Whiskey Jack. What have you and Dujek cooked up? The Panny and Dolman. Why are we sparing a mole's ass for some upstart zealots? These things burn out every time. They implode. The scroll scribblers take over, they always do, and start arguing obscure details of the faith. Sects form, civil war erupts, and there it is. Just one more dead flower trampled on the histories of an endless road." He continued thinking one day the Malazan Empire would come face to face with its own mortality. One day, dusk will fall on the Empire. Then he thought it's best not to think of the Empire, but to think of his sister. She would salvage the house, better than he would be able to. It was better to trust in his sister. He drew breath, continuing towards the crossing, thinking he was drowning in the abyss. I think Paran's kind of Mr. Emo here.
Well, I mean, he's been through a fuck ton a lot. I mean, he came back from the dead. Now he's got like hound's blood, you know?
Yeah.
This hound's blood seems to keep telling him to run away or get away or escape is kind of the feeling that I'm getting. But I can't really make sense of it. I mean, the information is there, but the information's not there at the same time.
Yeah, we just don't know enough yet.
I mean, I never would have thought that it would make him sick, you know? But as I'm thinking about it and hearing you read the section or summarize the section, I almost kind of feel like there's some similarities between Paran and the Crippled God here.
How so?
Like when I imagine the Crippled God, I imagine like a leper of course, like a leper of sorts. Someone who is diseased, is cancerous, is sick, he's got a ravaging cough, You know, when Quick Ben found him, he was like huddled underneath a blanket like he was cold. He's broken. He's crippled in all sense of the word. Now, so is Paran. Maybe not as bad, but definitely at the beginning.
I would say that's where the crippled god seems to have like physical limitations. Paran's are like obviously like mental or emotional.
That we know of.
Yeah, true. I mean, aside from like, or he feels like shit because of the blood or whatever. But maybe they're the opposite sides of Open's coin. I don't know.
I mean, I'm not thinking that Paran is the crippled god. That's not what I'm saying. This isn't a Quick Ben thing. I'm just
No,
saying
I get it. Yeah.
there's some parallels here, is all. What that means or where that goes, I have no idea. But there are some parallels. If they're related, cool. If they're not, cool, you know?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see where that goes if they will continue on or not, I guess.
But it also kind of ties into your theory a little bit about, the chains that you were just talking about with the crippled god. Paran, even here, as like we get a sense of like how he's feeling. He even feels like, even though he's no longer in Dragnapur, he feels like the chains are still holding him there, which coincides with what we just talked about.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's fishy. It's a fishy parallel. And where this goes, I don't know. I'm definitely going to be like paying attention to what's going on with Paran.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that. I didn't think about that, and such. I was a little confused at first, but I like your thoughts, and yeah, we'll have to see where that goes for sure.
But those are really my only like thoughts on this section. I mean, I understood it, but again, it's like you don't have all of the information. You just know that he's suffering from, whether this is well, it is a physical illness, but also it seems to be mental as well. And this could very well do with, what Hedge was saying back in Gardens of the Moon, where physically he's fine, but deep down he's not.
Good point. Yeah. I only had a couple thoughts here, but one that I didn't write down. I thought it was interesting how Paran's thinking that, why are they wasting time with this supposed holy war? Like they always fizzle out before they really gain any momentum. I assume this one's going to be different. It isn't going to fizzle out. I guess I don't really know where to go from there. And then the other thing, where he thinks about one day the Malazan Empire is going to have to answer for its, I guess I don't know that I say crimes, but answer for what it's done. One day dusk will fall on the Empire. Like every empire fades eventually. I feel like it kind of lends itself to my theory about, did I write stuff down in the right order here on my note?
Yeah.
I was just reading it wrong. But yeah, Falison being killed by Tavor and Paran having to kill Tavor to avenge the family. I don't know. I still feel like it fits. And I would be, I'm certainly not going to be like upset if it doesn't work out that way, but I would be pretty fucking stoked if that was what happened in the end.
What happens if it's the other way around?
I don't know. Then I'll still think it's pretty cool that I was like, in the right place.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't had anything to support it. I think it's interesting though that like, from what I can gather about the way that this section ends, is that Paran is under the knowledge that Tavor has taken over Adjunct. Like he knows that, and it sounds like he's supporting it, which doesn't necessarily make your theory untrue. I think that it makes it set up for an even bigger betrayal.
Yeah, it just makes it all that more tragic, really.
Right. Yeah.
So that's where I don't think Tavor is going to be the one to salvage the house, the family. I think she'll be the destruction of it, and maybe for the right reasons, in her mind. But it's just not going to work out or something. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. We've still got 7 books to get there. More than that, but I mean, on this side of things, 7 books to get there.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. I know after this book we'll be near halfway, which is weird. Granted, we have a while yet for this book, but I mean, we're already on chapter 3. We're nearing. I think this chapter ends at like 92, so we're already 100 pages in.
Well, we will be there. We're not yet. We haven't read
Well,
that chapter yet.
I'm sure I will read it tomorrow or tonight even.
I'm not sure if I'm going to read it tonight or not yet. I've thought about it. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny how like things go so quick, but as you're doing it, it doesn't really feel like it goes that fast at all.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I mean, by the late spring next year, or maybe even midsummer, we'll probably be wrapping this up.
Yeah, 1 week at a time.
1 week at a time. Well, now we're pretty much doing it every other 2 weeks because we slip in Curse of the Fallen in between there.
Yeah, it'll still go fast. I mean, we're not in a rush. So
no, not at all. But yeah, I don't have any other things for that question or that section.
No, I don't either. I'm ready for you to take over here.
All right. Hedge reached the summit, his legs carrying him next to the Barghast side. As he passed behind him, he pulled the long ponytail of the Barghast. Hedge said that he loved the way Trot's eyes bugged out of his head when he did that. Trots responded by saying the sapper was a scum beneath a pebble in a stream running through a sickly field of pigs. Hedge said it was a good insult, but too long-winded. He then is heard asking Trots if the Barghast has got the captain's head spinning. Trots didn't say anything, but sat staring at the Talon Mountains. Hedge removed his hat and scratched at his balding head. He is impressed with Trots and his pose as he sat in silence staring off into the distance. Trots said that he could be impressed, but such poses are not easy to hold. Or Trots said that he should be impressed, as such poses are not easy to hold. Hedge says that the Barghast is a natural, but then switches topics to ask why Trots is twisting Captain Paran around. Trots grinned, showing his blue-stained row of filed teeth, said that it was fun, and besides, it was up to Whiskey Jack to explain things. Hedge said that Whiskey Jack hasn't done any explaining yet. Dujek wants them back at Pale, gathering up what's left of the bridge burners. Paran should be happy that he's getting a company to command again, instead of a couple of beat-up squads. Did Whiskey Jack say anything about the upcoming parley? Trots nodded, and Hedge asked him to spit it out. Trots elaborated and said that it was coming up. Hedge sarcastically gave Trots his thanks, and then informed the Barghast that his post was officially over. They were cooking Behedron carcasses just for Trots, and Hedge teased that he had the cook stuff it with shit just for him. Trots said that one day he would cook up the sapper and eat him. Hedge hoped that the Barghast wouldn't choke on his lucky bone. The Barghast frowned and said that he was serious, as a way of honoring the sapper. Hedge squinted, then called him a bastard, and that the Barghast almost had him going there. Trots turned away and laughed. I thought it was just a really quirky section. They're definitely both teasing each other. Hedge is trying to get some serious questions in, and Trots is giving him answers, but they're fucking around with each other, and it was funny. It was a good section in that regard.
Yeah.
And again, more of the amazing subtle dick humor, with the hoping he doesn't choke on his lucky bone.
Yeah, I picked that up too. That's what I assumed that meant. But
did you think that Trots scum beneath a pebble in a stream running through a sickly field of pigs? I thought that was weak as fuck. Come on, man. You can come up with something.
I guess I kind of took it as, he's just saying you're the scum under the rock in a river of pig shit. But yeah, long-winded.
Yeah.
Probably could have came up with something better.
I think my favorite part was at the end, though. Because, I imagine that Trots just put on a serious face and then continued the banter, but just, more stoic, which got the sapper doubting if he was joking about eating him or not. I really enjoyed the banter between these two, and you don't get a ton of it in Gardens of the Moon, as they're more secondary characters, but it was still nice to be like reacquainted with them and just kind of like continuing to learn more about how they interact with each other and just a little bit more of their personalities, I guess.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll still be kind of secondary characters or if we'll see them a little bit more or get their perspective a little bit more in this book.
I think we'll get a little bit more. But then again, I don't really remember a ton of them. I remember them in Gardens of the Moon, but I don't really remember these types of interactions. And I don't know if that's just because like we were new to the Malazan series and the Malazan world, and maybe we just didn't get it, you know? So I'll be interested, like when I do eventually get back to rereading that book, how much more or how much better I would understand it.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I didn't really have anything else to talk about outside of their amazing wit.
All right. Well, you want me to take my last section here?
Take her away.
Whiskey Jack was waiting for Paran as he made his way back to the trader post and a makeshift barricade. Once a sergeant, he was now second in command of Dujak's army. He was standing with the healer, Mallet, as they watched the soldiers from the Second Army load last week's tolls onto the quarrels. Paran asked how Whiskey Jack's leg was. Mallet said they were just talking about it, and it had healed poorly and needed attention. Whiskey Jack said that would be later and told Paran to have the squads assembled in 2 bells and asked if he had decided what would become of what's left of the 9th. Paran said they would join Sergeant Anstey. Whiskey Jack asked for names. Paran rattled off Picker, Blend, Spindle, among others, including Quickben and Mallet. Whiskey Jack said Quickben and Spindle were cadre mages, and they'll be in his or Paran's company. But he supposed Anstey would be happy. Mallet said Anstey didn't know the meaning of the word. Paran spoke up, saying he assumed the bridge burners wouldn't be marching with the rest of the host. Whiskey Jack said he was correct. He'd be heading back to Pale. There were only 38 bridge burners left. If he preferred, he could decline the position and opt for a company of elite Marines who were short on officers and used to nobles commanding them. Paran didn't speak. He thought that Whiskey Jack was telling him that he may take a knife in the back. Bridge burners have a dislike of nobles leading them. He had felt blades enter his body before, blades that should have killed him. He said it would still be an honor to command the bridge burners, and perhaps in time he might prove himself worthy of commanding such a unit. Whiskey Jack said the offer stood if he changed his mind. A huge armored woman approached, saying the watch was being turned over, and she said they were all coming in as ordered. Whiskey Jack asked why she was telling him, saying she should tell her immediate superior. She turned to speak to Paran. He said he had heard her, told her to get the rest of the bridge burners with their gear to assemble in the compound. She tried to argue that it was still an hour and a half until they left. Paran said he was aware, but the order stood. Whiskey Jack mentioned the offer again. Paran cut him off, saying he had had a Napan tutor and that he had yet to meet a Napan who knew what respect was. The female, Ditoran, was no exception as a Napan or bridge burner. Whiskey Jack said the tutor taught him well. Paran did not understand. Whiskey Jack said the disrespect for authority had rubbed off on him as he had interrupted his commander. Paran apologized, saying he kept forgetting he wasn't a sergeant anymore. Whiskey Jack said he did too, so that's why he needed people like him to get it right. Whiskey Jack told Paran that the hurry up and wait tactic was a good touch, as soldiers loved to stew things over. When he was alone, Paran thought that he had 38 bitter bridge burners, resentful veterans who were twice betrayed. He wasn't a part of the treachery at Pale or Lacine's proclamation of becoming outlaws. Neither event could be laid at his feet, but they did it anyways. Sleep called to Paran, unwelcome as it was. He had nightmares night after night since Darujistan. It was filled with dreams and nightmares. He knew it was the hound's blood. It had to be. What he feared was all too real. Worse was the sense of not being able to trust anyone. Without that, all he saw was solitude. But now, Ollie's voice whispered of escape. He thought of Tattersail. He knew she lived. Somehow he knew. Ah, the pain. A child screaming in darkness. A hound howling, lost in sorrow. A soul nailed to the heart of a wound. And I think myself alone. Gods, I wish I were.
Like, to me, all this just feels like foreshadowing. It just all feels like foreshadowing. And I can't.
To what?
I don't know. That's I have no idea. Part of me wants to like say that it's foreshadowing to your theory with his sisters, but a hound howling lost in sorrow, right? A hound howling lost in sorrow for what? Another hound? Is that a representation of his sisters? A soul nailed to the heart of a wound. That sounds like either one, a Carium, or two, what was happening at the tower in Morn with the two Jaghut children.
I would lean that way. I think
So,
that makes more sense to me.
but it again, it like I said, it has the stamp of foreshadowing. But again, we don't have enough information to like even really speculate. I mean, we can make out like out of left field guesses, but I can't come up with anything that it could be.
Yeah, I keep what I keep thinking about is how like he doesn't have the respect of the bridge burners to be commanding them, but I mean he survived an assassination attempt. I feel like that should buy him some points. That he's a worthy commander. Like I feel like most like everyday people, like if I got stabbed and nearly died, like I'd probably change my line of work. If it was
Well,
work related,
yeah, sure. Yeah.
but he's not. He's like, nope, I'm still gonna do it. So I feel like, and maybe it's just like the optimist in me, I guess.
Well, I think that
Uh,
he's thinking the same way you are, but yet there's still this like knowledge that the bridge burners don't like nobles leading them. Does he keep going and potentially get another stab in the back? Even though, one, as you're mentioning, like you would think that that would be something that just like people respect. Like, man, you got fucking stabbed and you're still here. Like, awe inspiring. And on the other hand, telling himself, I had nothing to do with the treachery at Pale, and I had nothing to do with Lacine's outlaw of the bridge burners, which, remember at the end of Dead House Gates with Kalam and his confrontation with Lacine as she was like using that dead
this was
body to talk
planned.
to him? Yeah,
Yeah.
she told him that that was planned. But I don't get the sense that the bridge burners know that it's planned, which makes me think it wasn't planned and Lacine's full of shit.
Or maybe just the common foot soldiers don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I
Maybe.
guess I don't know why you would something like that. You probably don't tell everybody. You probably just tell the commander, I guess.
I mean, if Dujek is in on this, like, outcasting, quote unquote, like, what's the prerogative there?
I mean, it's a lot easier to keep a secret if nobody else knows about it, right?
Well, is it just because, like, so that they could backstab Darujistan?
I don't know.
Because I'm assuming that Lucine still has eyes on the city. So maybe it's like a winning their trust type of thing.
Could be. I don't know. I guess I don't really have an answer for you.
I don't either. Like I said, I don't. All of this stuff with Paran and his sickness is just so intriguing, and I just want to know more. I want to know more right now.
Like we get all this like the sickness and like I know I call them like emo Paran, but I keep getting the visual of Tobey Maguire as emo Spider-Man, and was that Spider-Man 3? Like that's the visual I keep getting.
Oh, he's got some venom inside. Ah, the venom inside.
Chimera.
Such a good album. Anyway, I feel like that's like really the only band we ever talk about on the show is Chimera.
Yeah, it's come up a couple times, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. But anyway, yeah. Like I said, I wish that I had more to talk about this. But again, I think that it's just kind of explaining kind of what has occurred in the meantime. This definitely kind of feels, like downtime. We're getting a sense of things. Everybody in this chapter that we met is pretty much outside of Pale in these hills somewhere. So it's cool. I guess I'm like it. I like this chapter. I can't make sense of some of these things that are being thrown in here, and I know that we will eventually make sense of it, which I think is just gonna be just that much cooler. But I don't have anything in this moment where things are going.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add onto that section either, other than as I feel like he's reaching out for Tattersale. Is he going to get his little telepathic link here again at some point with her? Or
I mean, it sounds like the Rivi are part of this parlay, so I would imagine that she's essentially going to be joining forces as well. I'm assuming she's still a little child at this point. You know, in the last book we had Wiccan children fighting, so
true. Yeah. Well, you want to bring us around home here? Finish it up?
take it home.
All right.
All right. Whiskey Jack entered the gatehouse, closed the door, and then walked over to the scribe's table. He leaned against it, stretching out his achy leg. After a moment, the door opened. Whiskey Jack scowled and said to Mallet that he thought the healer's captain had called an assembly. Mallet cuts him off and says that Pran is in worse shape than even Whiskey Jack was. Whiskey Jack says that they've covered this and to guard his back. He asks Mallet if he's having doubts. Mallet explains that he just quested with his warren and it recoiled. Whiskey Jack was hung up on the word recoiled as he said it out loud. Mallet said yes, and that this has never happened before, and Paran must be really sick. Whiskey Jack asks what it was and to be specific. Was it cancer? Was it tumors? Mallet said that it was nothing like that yet, but they'll come. Paran's eaten a hole in his gut, likely with all that he's holding in. Mallet says that they need Quick Ben as Paran's got sorceries running through him like fireweed roots. Whiskey Jack suggested Opon. Mallet quickly squashes this and explains that the twin gestures are gone. Something happened to Paran on his journey to Jarutstand. Well, not something, but a lot of things. But that's what's killing him. Mallet says that he could be wrong in that, but that's why they need Quick Ben. Whiskey Jack said that he hears the healer and he tells him to get Quick Ben on it when they get to Pale. Mallet wonders out loud if Captain Paran is fit to command the bridge burners. Whiskey Jack asked if Mallet really thinks he's unfit. Mallet said that not at this moment, no. Whiskey Jack tells Mallet to talk to Quick and Spindle to see what can be uncovered of these sorceries. If the gods are plucking at Paran's strings again, Whiskey Jack wants to know. Mallet's eyes thinned, and he asked what they were heading into. Grunting, he shifted his weight on his bad leg. He responded to Mallet and said that he doesn't know. But with Opon's luck, he won't have to lift the sword. Mallet said that if Whiskey Jack could give him time, he could. He was interrupted, as Whiskey Jack tells him later, because right now he's got a parlay to work out. Brood and his army have arrived outside of Pale. Mallet agreed. Whiskey Jack said that Mallet's captain is probably wondering where the healer has disappeared to. He tells Mallet to get out and he'll see him after the parlay. So, again, another really short chapter. I don't know what it is about the evens or the odds, man, but they just, I feel like over the last 3 books tend to be the longer sections.
Well, I don't know. We alternate books, so
Yeah.
we each get our turn.
Right. The whole Warren, Mallet's Denal Warren recoiling, and I guess that's just what happens when you have ancient blood coursing through your veins. I guess we've never really had an instance of a Warren recoiling before, have we?
I don't think so.
So, I mean, what we know about the hounds is that they're really fucking old. So I would imagine that it's some type of elder Warren, and it's just like, nope, you recoiling. It's just being knocked away.
Yeah, it seems unusual and odd. So yeah, I don't, like you, I wonder what to make of it and wonder where that will lead.
And it leads me into my next thought is just, I wonder if Quick Ben will be able to uncover what's happening here. And I feel like it has something to do with Hound's blood for sure, but also potentially something to do with the Dark Warren. I forget what it's called. Starvalad Demelane, maybe? No, that's a dragon one. Carald Galane, as he was in Dragnipur. So I feel like maybe those two just don't mix and they're like fighting with each other, kind of like how we got in Deadhouse Gates with Haboric.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
And then the last comment that I had is that Mallet seems to be very persistent about trying to fix Whiskey Jack's leg. And in both instances, Whiskey Jack is just like, later, I got other shit to do.
Yeah. Do you think it's just because he's like a respected commander, or do you think it's something more?
I don't know. I think that maybe he's just using it as a crutch, no pun intended, uh,
Good
to
one.
not have to fight. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if I don't feel like Whiskey Jack's the type of guy that would try to like get out of a fight. Like, yeah, he's done a lot of it, but I don't know if he's gonna make it out of this book series alive. But I mean, if he doesn't, I think he's going down fighting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, I think my last 3 or 4 sections were really short and I didn't really have a ton to pick apart. And, that essentially concluded the chapter. So, it was a good chapter. I really enjoyed it. I like where it's going. I like the sense of mystery. I like the setup. I like what's been introduced with the Crippled God and what's unfoiling there. And yeah, I can't even imagine where this book is going to go.
Yeah, I don't know either. I guess, do you have any predictions for chapter 3 coming up?
I mean, I'm hoping we get more of like Paran, Whiskey Jack, the Bridge Burners. I'm sure that they'll probably, if I would imagine, hopefully talk about the parlay. Maybe we'll get some interactions with Brood. Maybe Crone makes an appearance. I don't know. It'd be cool to see her again, being as she seems to work with Animander and Brood, from what I remember from Gardens of the Moon. So
Yeah, it would be. I think it'd be cool to see Animander again. I'd like to see more of Bauchelane and Corval. I'd also like. I don't know when it'll happen, but I'd like to see more of Calor. I would have to think he's going to be making an appearance at some point, and I'd like to see what his insane ass is up to.
yep, I would assume that he's probably going to be at the parlay as well. So
True. Yeah, he's kind of like the second in command
yeah,
for Brood.
so hopefully we get some more pieces. I know that this chapter is about 30-ish pages. So
I think it's 29, but yeah, so basically 30 pages.
yeah, so it'd be cool to get some perspectives in there. But I guess anything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, talking for 2.5 hours was just about our staple. I would imagine that the episode will probably be a little over 2 hours long.
I think that's a good length, for a chapter in this book.
I think so. And I mean, it's not like there was a ton of action just between Quick Ben and the Crippled God and then Moonug.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see where this goes next and to keep on reading. Yeah, should we just wrap this up?
Let's wrap her up.
All right. Well, don't forget to check us out on Twitter. I think, is this just going to be like a continuing thing? Is there still the 1 week free on our Patreon?
I haven't removed it. It's still there.
Okay. Again, I mean, a free week's a free week. So we'd love it if you took advantage of that. Send us an email, send us a message on Twitter, wherever. So let us know what you think. We love hearing that stuff and love interacting with everybody. So, yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to us and say hi. And, if there's anything you'd like to see us do differently or improve on, we're definitely open to all that type of stuff. So I don't know that we say it every time, but every so often I bring it up that, we want to do the best that we can do. So we're pretty open to constructive feedback on things. We're not professionals in this by any means. So a lot of times we just wing it and, we have fun doing it. So.
Right. And also, again, as much as it makes me feel like a dick or a douchebag, just like and follow, subscribe, do what you can. It'd be really cool to reach 500 subscribers on YouTube.
I always forget to mention that, but yeah, that's the YouTube's kind of your baby, so I guess it makes sense that you pitch that one. But yeah, definitely YouTube. Personally,
I a lot of traffic there, so
Yeah, I know. Like myself, I listen in the car, and sometimes that's hard with YouTube. So I just like listening on the podcast side more. But that's just me. Obviously, there's a lot of other people out there. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, man. Another great episode. I'm probably going to shower and go to bed. I am dog tired.
all right. Well,
No pun
hope you
intended.
have a good rest. Oh, didn't even think of that. Yeah. Well, have a good rest of your night, sir. And yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to read this tonight or not yet, but we'll talk soon.
Sounds good, man. Enjoy the night as well.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's DMJ's Epic Quest. CMJ's Epic Quest. CMJ's Epic Quest. CMJ's Epic Quest. CMJ's Epic Quest.